mentioned that he lost 6 pounds in 6 days. And I said, okay, he's giving me hope. And hope is the subject for tonight. Last week's portion of the Torah reading was all about God gave the Torah, the law, to the Jewish people. Now we're settling down. So also now open the book. Now we know we got it. Now what's inside, okay? Because they say whatever is in there, we'll do it. We don't know what's in there, but coming from you, we trust that it's a good thing. So we're taking it, right? It's a very important thing. Like somebody gives you something, aren't you suspicious? But if you have somebody who's you're very dear to them and you love them and there is a relationship, whatever they give you, you take, right? Because it's a relationship, you know he's wanting something good for you. So the same thing here. They said, whatever it is, we'll do it. And now, sit down, open the book, and see what is going on. And if I were to tell you, you know, it's a whole set of laws of spiritual guidance that is presented to mankind. What do you think the first thing would be? Out of the whole Bible, what's the most important thing that we're going to start with? What is the subject, the specific subject? They accepted the whole thing as a whole. Fine. But now we're going to go into details. So what do you think the first thing is going to be? What do you say? Like, in order for society to work functionally, don't be dishonest, do not steal. Okay, so this is what he told them. I'm going to now explain the law, and here's where we start. It goes like this. First of all, it says, these are the laws that I'm putting in front of you. These are laws that a human brain can understand. There's different laws. There's laws like God tells you, for example, in Jewish law, you cannot mix meat and milk and cook them together. Like, what is that, you know? That makes no sense. Why shouldn't you do that?
What is it?
Do not mix meat and milk.
Oh, meat and milk.
Together. So, but in any case, these are laws that the human mind can comprehend, right? On the social level. So, and also he said you should put in front of them, meaning that when you learn something, it's not enough that you hear it or you read it. You put in front of them, it means you start going into details. It's not like, you know, briefly I'm going to tell you something. It's where you repeat it, you go into details, you look at the commentary. Just like when you learn the book, if you just read it and check, some people say, oh, I've gone through the book. That's very good, you read the book. But doesn't mean you learned it. Reading and learning is a different story, right? So when he says you should put it in front of them, it means that it's something that now you're going to ponder, you're going to ask questions, maybe somebody else will, you know, help you explain it, or you're going to explain it to someone else. So it sinks in more when you actually practice it and figure out example. That's why, you saw my little book, my little red book, yeah? It's small, right?
Yeah.
It's very small. But now what you have, this big blue book, right? And it's big. Why is it big? Because it goes over this and it gives you an example and it tells you more about this and it helps you comprehend it, right? It always, when you want to learn something, it's not enough to just go through it just quickly. You have to put it in front of you like you have on the table and digest it, right? Just like food. Now, I'm going to tell you, you gave me a few examples of what you think would be good to start with, all these laws, and this is what it says. If you buy a Jewish slave, he's going to work for 6 years, and on the 7th year, he's going to get out free, no charge. Why do you start with this law? Yeah, 6 days you work and the 7th day you rest. That's very good. But here, why do you start with this law about somebody who is a slave? Because the main thing of these laws and all this set of laws is to preserve human dignity and human freedom. why a person became a slave is for two reasons. One, he's so destitute, he has nothing. And because he has nothing, he cannot survive, so he tells somebody, I'll be your slave, I'll work for you. In exchange, I have food, I have shelter, I have clothes, I have a bed, I have whatever it is that I need. The second situation that happens where a person can be a slave is because he stole and he had nothing to pay back. You don't put him in jail. The jail is not going to help. And jail is going to meet other bad people, or is going to learn bad things from them, whatever. You tell him you're going to repay the person that you stole from. You don't have what to repay, so you're going to work until you repay your debt. So that's another example of somebody who's going to be a slave. But it's not really a slave in the sense that we talk about slavery. It's a slave because now, instead of being his own boss, he has a boss. That's what's called slavery. He's not his own master, right? And that we said that if addiction is considered a slavery, it's because you are not the master of your inclination. Is the addiction that has power over you. That's what it says, we're powerless. It's not really powerless, it's something else that has power over you. Just like God is a free spirit or force or energy, he created man, and he wants man to have also free spirit, to have choice. And when the person is a slave, he has no choice anymore because he has to work for the master. God says, okay, there are situations, circumstances that happens in life, and now you have to work for someone. Nevertheless, there's conditions. You have to respect that person who is working for you. You have to give him the same thing you have. You can't live in a mansion and he lives, in the dungeon or in the cellar. The slave, Jewish slave, has to have proper respect from his master. It cannot be mistreated. In the Egyptian law, it's completely different story. The slave, they can do anything. They have right of life or death on them. That's not a Jewish slave. It means it's somebody who is unfortunately in a situation he cannot afford what he needs.
The word for slave.
Eved, and it means avodah. Eved is the same root. It means work. He is bound to his master because of what he owes the master. Okay? Or because he himself presented and asked to be a worker for him.
Right.
A person who is in a situation of what we call it slavery, addiction, lack of freedom, is expected to rise above the limitation of his tendency. Because sometimes we are slaves to physical things, material things. You cannot be spiritually totally elevated if you're bound to physical tendency and attachment and all of that. And I'm saying that, but there's degrees, right? There's always degrees and steps, and it's not all or nothing, but it's a process. So the people that came out of Egypt, which is very interesting, they were slaves. They were there for hundreds of years, and they were at the bottom. They were at rock bottom. Rock bottom so much that when they were slaves, their mind could not fathom not being slave. Even when they came out, they said, okay, listen, do you remember when they were in front of the Red Sea? They were like, we'll go back. It's like, whoa, it's like too much already. The difficulties is too much, so we're going back. God says, no, you don't go back. I took you out of slavery, you don't go back. Even though for years and years and decades and hundreds of years they were slaves, it took them 50 days to switch and became a free nation when they were standing on the mountain of Sinai to receive the law. It took 50 days. The switch that they made from being in a slave mentality to being free took 50 days, which is very little compared to all this 240 years that were slaves. What happened? First of all, I want to say that when they were slaves, they had one transmitted tradition for many centuries, many decades, that there will be someone who's going to come and save them. They will be saved, they will come out. That was the promise. They knew it and they had this in their mind, okay? Which is very important, because somebody who knows something good is going to happen suffers differently than somebody who doesn't see the end of the tunnel. They knew it's going to have an end, okay? So now when they had to switch, they said, okay, this is how we were supposed to be all this time. We're supposed to come out. We were told, okay, this guy kind of, we prepared for this. Because the switch was very fast. 50 days is very fast to change your mentality. Now, here we have a slave that is slave. And he's being told like this, listen, you had an issue, circumstances, problem, whatever happened. Now you became a worker for your master, but you should know one thing. Even going in, you have to know it. Before you even go into this, you know that you work, but after 6 years, you finished. Done. This first law about, you're going to go in. You're going to do what you have to do because situation or whatever you did. But you should know one thing. Before you even go in, you're going to come out. There's a certain amount of time you're going to do it, and then that's it. Finished. At the end of 6 years, you're going out. You accept this period. He has to be treated well. And the Torah protects the freedom of that person, the dignity of the human being. He is not a slave forever. He is there for an amount of time, and that is it. And in his heart, he needs to know that at some point it's going to be over. And if he doesn't feel in his heart that he has hope, it's going to be terrible. What is important here is to know like this. Even if a person goes into a situation that is less than pleasant, let's call it like that, less than pleasant, but he has to know that there is hope. He has to know that at some point it's going to be over. And that is the first commandment that is given. If you buy a slave, he shall work for 6 years. The 7th, he goes free for no charge. Doesn't owe you anything. You fed him, you give him, you did it. Now it doesn't owe you anything. It's done. So this instillation of hope is, I don't know if you heard about him. His name is Irvin Yalom. He's a famous psychologist, and he is specialized in group therapy. And I was just like, see, this book is a big book, but I read it like water. It was such a good book. Because first of all, he's a fantastic writer, but he also explained and it's like really good. He says like this: there's primary factors when you do group therapy. It has 11 things that are really important. And the first one is instillation of hope. That's the first thing that you have to have when you do group therapy, is you have to have hope. He said, if you don't have that, you're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. Because he has other ones like universality, like you're not the only one who has this problem. Everybody has problem. And your problem, you think you're the only one, but it's not true. A lot of other people have it. So he has a whole list of things, but instillation of hope is the number one thing. If you don't have hope, you're not going to work. You're not going to try. You're not going to even think of yourself in a different stage in life. There's a lot of studies that showed scientifically that if a person write their goals, they write them and they put in and they read them every day, their brain function differently than if they just think about it. it does something to the brain. And then there is expectation. Like we said about this guy, he's stuck for 6 years, but he knows, he has expectation. On the 7th, he's a free man, right? So beyond the imagination, it does something to the brain. They have a lot of studies that goes and shows that if a person envision themselves in a good position, it has more chances that are happening than if they don't. That's why, because it has an effect on the brain. That's why when you have like meeting, okay, who do they bring at the meeting? They bring someone who gives you hope, because he's gone through something and he figured it out how to get out of it, and you see it with your own eyes. In other words, it's like if somebody tells you, oh yeah, you're gonna get better, don't worry, you're gonna get better. It does something to you, it gives you a little bit of support. But what if you see with your own eyes somebody who has gone through this, and now you see with your own eyes how they managed and they made it happen? That goes into your brain. That gives you hope for yourself. And hope is flexible. That's the beauty of hope. It's a hope for comfort, sometimes hope for relationship, sometimes for dignity, sometimes for, that I'm not going to suffer as much, whatever it is. Hope is always like, according to different circumstances, hope changes. But if a therapist, imagine a therapist come and to a group and tells the group, you're never gonna make it. That's not good, right? So he says, I guarantee people that if they stay in my group for 6 months, I guarantee them they're gonna be better. Because I know and I give them hope. Because I know I've been doing this for 50 years, so I know it's gonna happen. So I tell them, if you stick to it and you do the work and you're honest and sincere, whatever, you will change, you're gonna get better. So that's the installation of hope. And one of the great strengths of AA is that the leaders that founded the group, they went through the thing and they figure it out, and that gives hope to people. And that's why in the groups, they always have somebody who, I've done this and I figured it out, and I can tell you that if you follow the path, you're gonna get out of it. You know the story of the Marine that was it fell into a very, very deep pit. Very, very, very deep. And they couldn't get him out. So he's calling for help, and the people out there said, we have no way of getting you out. Until one guy, he jumped and he went into the pit. And the guy who was in the pit, he says, bro, what did you do? Now we're 2 of us. He says, brother, I was there and I know how to get out. I'm going to show you. If somebody hasn't gone through it, they don't know what to do. If somebody who's gone there to the bottom and knows how to get out, he gives hope to the person. He's going to teach him. To imagine yourself well, to imagine yourself in a good place, this is the hope, and it's the basis for recovery. That's why he says number 1 in the group therapy, installation of hope. That's why you have a slave, the number 1 thing that you tell, in the worst of situation, where you were so bad, you had to sell yourself, or you had to be dependent completely upon your master's, goodwill. In the worst of this situation, I'm telling you one thing, there is an end to it, you should keep hope. At the 6th, 7th year, you're coming out. Know that there is an end, and like we said, if there's not a good ending, it means not the end of the story. But I want to put a little bit of a warning here, because there's a lot of people that do affirmation, right? they do affirmation, and I have a little bit of a feeling also, like when people have the group and they recite these things, you know, this thing at the end, everybody says it together. They say it like a rote. I want to give you a secret. Affirmation and saying things is not enough. For example, somebody who doesn't look beautiful, it happens. Some people, you know, whatever. She goes or whatever it is. She goes to the mirror and every day she says to them, you look beautiful, you're very pretty. What's going to happen is, inside herself, she knows she doesn't. She knows. And she says, you look beautiful. She doesn't say, like if she say you're beautiful in your soul, you're beautiful and you're kind person, or you have your good soul or whatever. Okay, but she said you look pretty, and she knows she doesn't. And she said affirmation, you're going to look pretty. No. What happened at the end is that she's going to feel bad because she knows she doesn't look pretty. Number two, she knows she's a liar. So she's adding to the problem. Do not say things if you do not feel them. Okay, because repeating something that you don't think is true is not going to help you. Choose your affirmation to be aligned with a real feeling that you can have. A real feeling. Not something that somebody else said. Something that you really feel. You can say, I believe I can make progress. Can you feel that? I believe I can make progress?
No.
Right. So instead of saying, I'm the best, I don't know, the best of what, whatever you want. But if you don't feel this, that you're the best, it's going to be detrimental, because not only you know you're not the best, but now you're increasing that you being a liar to yourself. The thing that helps very much is, number one, if you're going to do affirmation, choose your affirmation wisely so that you can connect to them emotionally. You can feel them. Because feeling the affirmation is what makes it happen. Okay? Somebody who doesn't think he can make $1 million and keeps repeating, I'm going to make $1 million, I'm going to make $1 million. It's an affirmation that is useless. What about if he says, I'm going to start working towards making a lot of money? Can you feel that without feeling a fluke? Yes. So then that's a good affirmation for you. Affirmation have to be able to be felt sincerely to be working. Number one. Number two, because the affirmation is supposed to give you hope. If you say an affirmation that you know you're lying, it's not giving you hope, right? It's making you feel bad about yourself. So choose your affirmation. You can always say, I intend to be XYZ, or I am willing to make an effort towards X, Y, and Z. That's an affirmation that you can connect to. You can really feel it, right? Number one, affirmation, really sincerely felt because they are made exactly for you. Number two, seeing someone who did it, a role model, someone who did it, and now not only it acts on your brain with the affirmation, but your brain sees something. If I say it, it's true, the guy did this. So they impress your brain. Now you can really see that you can make it happen. That gives you hope. That's why in every group, there's this guy comes and he tells what he went through and how he got over it. And everybody in life, their job is to heal themselves and then go show others how to heal.
Yum, yum, yum.